Hello, welcome to Being Reintegrated. This is Tim Wright. So, sorry I haven't been available. I've been working on Kim Publishing books. Um, what happened is, as I was going through all these academic sources, really trying to build our Order de Coens Resuscite, not only with ritual, but with actual teachings of that ritual, I stumbled on a very amazing fund of what Gerard Gendet calls Illuminism. And what Illuminism essentially is using one thing to talk about another, which is what he said in his commentary on the Treatise of Reintegration of Beings, that it is about figurism. That's the main doctrine of Illuminism, is favor or favors esoteric criteria, but along with that, they're using a kind of allegory, which is figurism. Well, so in researching about this, I found that the German Illuminists were actually very aware of what we now call the French reintegration and Martinezism, but basically Martinezism is a particularization of Illuminism, which we're finding in the works of German idealists. Now, I'm being vague on purpose because there's people out there who have certificate authority. And this is what I've had to do an analysis on and see that there's two branches of the Elukoan. You have the Ambelane version, which is basically all your authorities and all your certificates and all of your lineage perpetuation through Masonic form. And then, if you're lucky enough, you have the Amadou kind of branch, which is the Illuminism, the Theosophy, the actual teachings of what those connections are. Well, I happen to be connected to both of those branches, and basically one wants to steal from the other, and then claim that they've always had the one thing. Now, you can guess on who is trying to take what from whom. With that brief introduction, you'll be able to see the form and substance of most groups out there that are claiming this lineage. I got personally not slayed, but definitely targeted by a group of these kind of people who they don't have anything they're claiming that they have. I've investigated and analyzed it. And the most that they have is post-Papuzian Martinism. And I've found a pre-Papuzian Martinism that's actually an analysis by a German philologist from the Society of Strict Observance that Willermoes was fighting with to gain primacy over with the somnambulism. And so I found, by digging and digging and digging with your support and being reintegrated, we found actual pre-Papuzian Martinism. Not only do we have Amadou-inspired Martinism in the Order de Coens Resuscite, which we have classes in Google Classroom, which you'll have an introductory class that introduces you to the terms of Martinezism. And then we have classes once you've seen the rite of the Elukoan and its bands. My late colleague, Paul Edward Rana, talked about the structure of the Elukoan, which I told him was an absolute essential essay to put into all publications. So he did a great job of resurrecting that Cohen effort from the Ambelane lineages, what was available. But he was primarily a Amadou Cohen. He was always leaning on the teachings of esotericism, and it was not, even though he had Ambelane certificate authorities, the Ambelane certificate authority will only take you so far. So that's why the Order de Coens Resuscite is primarily a research order with the benefit of having a resurrected and reconstructed rite from all extant Elucoan sources. We've used Spanish, we've used French, we've used Canadian, we've used the American versions, and synthesized a luminous study of all of those versions of Elucoan. So we're really getting a very, very bird's eye view and a microscopic view of the terrain here. Granted, people may bring in other things. There's other societies that existed after the 18th century that many have tried to turn the Elucoan into, but that's not what it was. That's not what it is. And it's very cool that we're able to finally uncover this. Those prefatory remarks being made, not only are we able to understand the German idealism behind the Elucoan, and like I said, the pre-Papuzian Martinism, but we're also able to get a commentary on Jakob Boehme's probably Society of Unknown Superiors. So it's not certificate, it's actual teachings that I'm working on getting made available. It's probably a pretty big book, because basically what happens is there's an inline commentary in German idealism that is on Boehme's theosophy and using Cohen language to describe Boehme's understanding of the koan. So we're finally in 2025 able to successfully complete the journey which Saint-Martin talked about, which is the marriage of Martinezism and Boehme's Illuminism, basically. And he said it's a perfect marriage. So I finally have been able to uncover all these sources and get to a real presentation of what that marriage looks like. Saint-Martin gave us a hint on how to do it. And if you know the sources, which I'm obviously not telling you the sources because I, don't want to spoil the disclosure of this great find. But I'm going to publish the material. If you've been watching Being Reintegrated, you may be able to put it together should you see the rite of the Elucoan and be instructed and know what you're doing. If you don't, no amount of initiation rituals will ever give you this kind of perspective. You have to know the insider language. You have to understand how the insider language was spoken about in figurism. And you also have to see the rite, which synthesizes all of this figurism together so you can see how it dynamically is portrayed in front of you. Using all these correspondences, all these planes, all this talk, all this language, all this figurism, you'll be able to put together the synthesis, the grand synthesis of what the unknown superior should know. And if you don't, then that is a big poker hand that, I'm not trying to call your bluff, but you could call mine. I mean, I don't have certificates. No. But we do have an initiator class that is going to provide that Anne Boleyn lineage in Order de Coens Resuscite. And we are going through a partnership with the Anne Boleyn versions of Martinism and everything you got to bring to it this form of Illuminism and Amadeus Cohen, which we fully resurrected now. The only thing that was missing was the rite, and we now have fully all of the extant pieces of the rite, including apostolic succession, access to the episcopate for those who have shown interest, teachings and illuministic doctrine, along with translations, a publication arm, and the rites and rituals of the Elucoan. So that puts us in a very unique position. Granted, I have stepped away from any kind of authoritative stance because I'm just an educator, and I could be wrong. though I've researched this stuff pretty intensely, and if I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments, or, come and say something other than something about me, that I don't have all your proper dips and dives and dongles to be able to say what I'm saying. Because I'm saying it, and you can't refute it, because I did my research. Not being aggressive or hostile, just letting you know you should step down now, because we no longer need the Lane version of the Elucoan, which was the way of spreading Martinism in post World War II, and kind of the occult takeover of all esotericism that happened with the advent of Mussolini, and on and on and on. You'll read about all these societies. They're all connected. They all have language that they're talking in between each other. Well, the same goes with German idealism. These philosophers used Boma to hold up these philosophical standpoints between ontology and a lot of the different nuance that you'll get within the Rite of the Elucoan. So I wanted to kind of give a show all of my hand and show you what we got here. I worked with the Society of Martinez de Pasquale for the level of Martinezism that we teach in the Order de Coens Resuscitae. We have all of the synthesis of Anne Boleyn, including other groups which don't want me to mention them, but which we are collegial with. So everything has been surveyed, everything has been evaluated and put into context for this grand vision that you're seeing here. So I'm very, very grateful to be able to present that, but we're evolving even that perspective. The Amadou occultism, the Amadou Cohen, as a priestly educational order, even has an evolution into the German idealism and figurism of Illuminism, which we haven't even broached into the German mode of that yet. Now, Weishaupt tried, but he was shut down because his idea was, as you'll read by Wages, my colleague, that his idea was grounded in the social contract of Rousseau. And so there's a little bit of idealism that goes there, which is mainly his fight against the not Catholic, but the Jesuit order. So that's not what German idealism is. That is the Bavarian branch of the same effort, which the material that we're sharing here has real root in the real Masonic lineage of Germany as it goes through all this. So you'll learn about this. I mean, I'm not going to just blurt out everything about all the lineages and all of the Anne Boleyn certificate authorities, because they're very good and they are very linked up, but they lack teachings and they lack people who understand the teachings. Given to me by a very high degree initiate in a French order, which is an offshoot of all of these splinter branches of, ultra-Masonic fraternal relations, we should say. I'm trying to keep names away. It's really hard not to drop names when you have this big kind of overview. Anyway, told me that a lot of this stuff has never been actually understood. Though the certificate and authorities were given, the actual teachings, the theurgical material, the doing of this stuff, and the understanding of what you're doing has not been conveyed. So that is a little bit of a, I don't know, not a misrepresentation, but a missed opportunity in these ultra-Masonic orders. We get somebody, they're all fired up, they want to do this material, and then we give them nothing. We don't give them any teachings. We give them a little ordination certificate with a stamp and a signature, and say, you are now one of the great of the greats and one of the unknowns of the, all this big old flamboyant inflationary language. Like I said, I know what you're doing, I've analyzed and looked at all the corners that everything's hiding in, and finally we're able to really offer those with this kind of fervent desire something with strength and solidarity. So, if you haven't yet, email the Order des Coens Ressuscite at resurrectedcoens@gmail.com, and our membership board will give you a review and communicate with you and talk with you. You don't have to be my fan. You don't even have to support the Patreon or purchase any of the books, although you might be leaning toward that direction. Kim Publishing is definitely a publisher of Illuminous doctrine and materials, an independent publishing company that is on our 14th book with this new Mysticism of Metaphysics of Franz von Baader. We're going to really be able to strike new dirt, a new pay dirt, and open up and break ground on what has never been revealed through the esoteric orders of Martinism, Martinezism, and its offshoots. So I'm really grateful that we have this opportunity to present to you and reform the esoteric orders of the world.